Hi friends, my name is Borrodante and welcome back to Overpain. Today's patient is Hannah Rico, with her character that doesn't really have arms, but she has 4 legs. I had no idea where the Heikel heck to put her arms, so I'm sorry. Also, feel free to adjust shit like the eyes and her head because I draw them too big, I guess. Well, I have nothing against big heads. There are no hats for this one. The beanie that I used to wear, that's the only beanie in Ukraine that fits this head. Also, I think it was supposed to be like very big and hang from the back a lot. That's why it kind of managed to fit my head somehow. Anyway, let's draw some characters with 4 legs. A centaur. So I guess let's start with adding the arms, right? And then I really want to just do the colors and maybe add some details. Really just a chill process because I'm really sleepy. Now it's a Venus centaur. Ooh, by the way, I came up with a new kind of brush for sketching. The Takashi brush. I used to have it like this. This is the way we drew all the sketches for Outlandish Curiosity. I made a bit of a more texturized version, and also then I decided to go with the fully opaque version. That means no matter how softly I press, it's still pretty much visible. And I created this brush because I wanted to use a ruler feature of Photoshop, which doesn't really work well with soft brushes, meaning the ones that become transparent if you press slightly, because if you press here and then shift click somewhere else, you see it's barely visible because it memorizes the pressure that you had the last moment you had the brush at this point, which was of course very slight pressure because you were releasing the brush. And that's why it's like invisible completely in here and then slightly visible in the end because I was pressing it by a hit. So this really makes it completely useless for all the brushes that react to the pressure. So I came up with this Takashi opaque version. So now if we press here and then click here, we can always be completely sure that we'll see the line. And this is really cool to build perspective grids, just building some structures really quickly, just as the base on top of which you will be drawing something more accurate and alive by hand. So this is really awesome to do that. But what I discovered recently, if you'll check out my Instagram page, I started drawing with this brush, with this opaque version of the brush, a lot of sketches from the beginning to the end, like only using this opaque version. And it's so cool. I'm using it in a very tiny mode, actually like this. I'm not having any thicker line than this. And it's actually very liberating and awesome, which is the opposite of what I thought about very tiny brushes for sketching. Because you kind of get confused by such a super sharp tiny detail when you're just building things up, you know. That's why you want to use something thicker so you wouldn't have to think about details within the radius of the brush or something. But that's not exactly true. I mean, you can still, if you actually keep in mind on what the geometry is and you work with the geometry you're building up, you can really make good use of a tiny brush by the fact that it's just precise and lets you see better through the geometry. It makes you more precise, doesn't make you restricted. I don't know, these are my latest thoughts on that. And I'm gonna try to use it here. Although we're only gonna add arms, I don't want to redraw everything. But maybe it's a good idea. I don't know, let's start with the arms. We'll see where it goes. So, the neck, the clavicles, alright. So the joint is somewhere around here. It's so nice to have such a tiny line. I don't know why, it's just awesome. So let's see. The elbow should reach somewhere around here. It basically reaches the area of the belly button. Well, the slimmest area of the torso, somewhere around there, the elbow should end. That's how I remember it, that's all. So that's too long. Kind of like this. So the pose, I think she looks very graceful and kind of so we'll do some kind of like this, a bit lower. So let's see, let's start with a bit of a gesture line then. a bit stronger angle here. Kinda like this. Oh, we're supposed to see the bottom of the palm. Alright. And not much of a thumb. Thinking through some muscles. I love thinking through muscles, the ones that I know. Okay, let's go maybe a little bit through the rest of the body. I kind of enjoy doing that lately. And nothing sexual about that, going through the body. So, these are the muscles around here. This is always a dark area, there's an indent in there. This one, the sexy one. So it's always in between where this shoulder thing starts. I don't know the names, and I don't care. And the pack part ends. So in this corner right there, the pack thing is connected all the way in on these ribs and in here on top as well. And this area is like basically like where all the muscles ended. So it's always a bit dark there. I mean, not as dark as I drew it right now. This is basically a skinless character at the moment. Also, there should always be some distance between these two muscles. It's not that important since the character has breasts, but still. About breasts, by the way, they should have a bit of a more stronger distance. Like this one is pointing sideways, and that's cool. That's basically the way it should go. I don't think if the breasts are like the young kind of breasts, the one that don't hang, that don't have this kind of fold at the bottom, when they're just like this. In this case, I don't think they should really go lower than the pecs. So what I'm trying to say is they should be higher a bit. Maybe a little bit with the gravity they are lower. Not exactly the gravity. This is a complex question. This is the breast paradox. But I would make it slightly higher anyway. I don't think I did it higher. So this one should start a bit more to the right. Now the rib cage. It starts right here, meeting the neck. And then it goes like this shape. I can never nail it properly, always making it too wide, too big, like spherical a bit. So I have a feeling that this cool curve should be a bit higher. So going through the front, we have this, and then it's kind of going a bit inwards, and then going back like that. I think that looks kind of cool. Now let's see, the neck should be a bit like this. She's straightening it up like this a bit. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but maybe it was. Let's say it was, then... Well, okay, I guess I'm cool with that. Feels like the ear is a bit too much in the back of the head. A little bit. We'll fix that in color. Or not fix, but whatever. I'll change it the way I feel like doing. Okay, the whole horse part. I'm not familiar with that. But, I mean, let's see. I'm not even like... I don't feel like fixing anything. But the sketch is really quick. And I just want to define some geometry markers for myself to make it easier to search for the proper light later. So I'm thinking the horizon is somewhere in the somewhere in the middle of the picture, like that. And so... okay, maybe a bit higher then. I'm trying to justify the angle of the shoulders that go a bit higher when further away. That means the horizon is higher. Well, I guess it's on the eye level then, right? Let's give it a try. Ah, no, my OCD won't allow this. Okay, I won't look there. Okay, another cool little darkening when the person is in shape. They have a bit of another darkening here, because abs, they go here, and the ribs, they end here. and this main rib thing that goes below the ribs and then has this finishing line over the pelvis bone. It goes at this angle, and so nothing is really at this point, and there's like a slight darkening there as well. Again, not even nearly as dark as I drew it. Let's erase it a bit. But this is a cool place. This is where anyone who has any sort of muscles, they usually have kind of a cool hole in there. Even if they don't like have super perfectly visible abs, they still have this kind of little feature. Some robot now. The tail is a bit sad. Let's make it a bit more pointy. This character feels like she is in uplifted, graceful mood, so the tail should be appropriate. Kinda like that, I don't know. Okay, I think that's good enough. Another one would be a bit visible here, I guess, although not that much. The second leg. Yeah, now it feels right. Okay, let's drop some colors. I think let's make like a dark place. Like it's not exactly a cave, but a very dense area of the magic woods. And there's this one ray of sun breaking through exactly on the character. So let's do something like that. So what we did is we defined the color of air perspective, this dark bluish gray, which is this color exactly. Really close to black, but not really, you know, the way it always goes. Because there is not gonna be too much of air perspective in the scene anyway. So nothing is going darker than this color. Now in the back, let's add a bit more of a greenish, like a fog or vapor or something like that in the air. And it gets dense behind the character. I'm preparing like a place to position everything else. Also, I barely can see the edges of the screen. Let's make everything else black. The workspace background, that's better. Now let's drop a couple of really bright spots of the grass, and it gets a lot warmer. So this kind of color. Now let's add a base of the character with just black silhouette, with a very drafty brush like this, so we wouldn't trap ourselves into searching a perfect silhouette when we haven't really defined much details. Now let's increase the light behind the character a bit to improve the silhouette. Okay, now let's think through the light. The character has the main light source from the top, which is a sunlight, so everything will be slightly warm, but from the bottom all the grass is reflecting with green. So let's think through that right away. Those are two main colors, sharp, bright and warm from the top, and soft, ambient green from the bottom. Let's see what that means. So bright skin color, I want to make it a bit warmer. So I'll be defining the basic things now. Now, when it's reflected from the grass, oh, it's gonna be different. I feel like this could be a thing, maybe slightly warmer. Basically, the skin is still, well, pink, but it's lit by the green, like very warm green color. Literally, the color of the grass is the color of this ambient light source from the bottom. So it's a lot darker because reflected light is only a portion of the initial light. So I guess this kind of works. Ooh, are we naked? We'll add some kind of clothing. This is a family show. So I'm literally not even thinking about any shadows right now. I'm just working with two light sources. I'm thinking they're mostly going to be everywhere. At tiny areas where it's gonna be just completely dark, those are like details, we'll add that later. Wait, you're not that color. So this arm might be completely in the dark. Okay, her face looks like something else, but I mean, can you feel this ambience from the green color all over the place? really works well. I only add some dark, again, I grab this ambient color and I make it darker, or I actually blend it with air perspective, which is the correct way to go. Only where the surface is not lit by the sun, yet it's facing upwards, because in this case there's no sunlight and nothing bright green from the top, so that's why it gets dark. So right here as well, this is facing upwards and there's shadow from the rest of the body, that's why it's getting darker. Now this area should be a bit darker because it's facing away from this grass, but also it's facing a lot of the very brightly lit skin. So there will be some reflected light from the bright skin onto the dark skin. In this case, we grab the color of the ambiently lit skin and we make it brighter and closer to that skin color. And the juiciness of the color is always only increasing because each time the light gets reflected, it collects the color from the surfaces. So initially the sunlight is warm, then it gets reflected from the grass and it becomes really warm green, like very green as the grass is green. That's the light color now. And then on top of that light we also add the light of the warm sunlight getting reflected from the pink skin, so it gets even like this warm juicy green plus warm juicy pink-ish color all together, and everything becomes very weird. Really just a bunch of math. So this is also really cool. At the chin area will be lit by the light reflected from the chest on it. And a little bit here, and a little bit on the nose, and the bottom lip, and this thing. Oh, it's gonna be a bit brighter because the ambient light is brighter here too. So just brighter. There we go. Now let's add a little bit of translucency for the skin. Now I still haven't done the tutorial on the translucency, but the point is that this is basically the sunlight piercing through the skin and revealing some of the skin and blood colors where the light shouldn't really be anymore. At very bright areas, at the tip of the nose, maybe some features of the fingers, it's a really small radius effect for the human body. So it's more of a detail thing, but in general a little bit of warmness, like the bigger radius should go only for the revealing of the skin color, because that's when the light only slightly touches the surface of the skin and doesn't really get the blood involved, so it doesn't go all that dark and deep. It's complicated. The point is that, yeah, it's gonna reveal some skin color. And it's also getting a lot more juicy. Juicy means more saturated. The hair color, let's go redhead. I don't know why. It might not fit at all, but... Oh, this is cute. Okay, so I defined some basic features. For the eyes, for the eyelashes, and the iris, I just used the air perspective color, meaning they're dark enough to not really reveal much. I mean, of course we'll add some cool color on the iris, but we should do that later. So let's think about the color of the horse part. It's basically like hair color, but slightly less vibrant and a bit darker. So I'm thinking this. Let's actually make the tail the same color as the hair. I think that will be funny. Well, not funny, but I mean, kinda cool. Basically, the whole horse part is of that color, but a bit darker. So now I remove this ambient color wherever there's no light supposed to be. At the armpits areas and such, the areas that face upwards or touching the surface of the floor of the ground. Now let's add some reflected skin light onto the hair in here. I think it's gonna look cool. So we grab this initial color, make it a bit brighter, a lot juicier, and we don't really move it much. Maybe if it becomes a bit more red. That feels right. And we just add soft touch. Okay, now let's think flowers, iris, And the bra. Let's start probably with the bra because it's the biggest detail to add. You know what? No bra. Let's add 2 more flowers there and that's it. And flowers, I think they should be bright blue. That would be cool. So I think this is the sunlit color and this is the reflected. Oh yeah, nice. Now let's add some sunlight spots. Should we make the eyes of the same color? I don't know. Alright, let's zoom in a bit. Zooming in. Hi, nice to meet ya. Wow, you're blocky. That's good. That's appropriate for the painting of your age. Let's switch to Chiyoko, since we're going a bit smoother now. Let's finally fix this cheekbone silhouette. Okay, I'm tired of detailing the face. A little bit weird with the light. I did the light very strong, so it kind of highlights the chin too much. I fixed it a bit at this area, adding some semi-light. This can be stronger, might look cool. Okay, I went a bit too much into details, and now I forgot who I am. Anyway, let's go through the rest of the body with like a low amount of details, but just fixing up some stuff. Starting with the shadow on the grass. And the grass. Now let's merge all together. Feels like it's now more of an obstacle than help to have separate layers between the character and the background, I mean. I think the face needs a bit more of the plain definition. Like, this area is facing away from the sun at a certain angle. It doesn't mean it will be completely in the shadow, but it also doesn't mean that it's gonna be completely bright. So we have to use this half of a bright color for it all. Okay, I'm good. I think the details are good enough, and I'm sleepy enough to drop this. I don't know why I always try to finish the painting in Overpaint series. I guess it's just a habit. You see the painting, you finish the painting. So yeah, this is it. Thank you, Hannah Rico, for your submission. This was quite an interesting step away from my usual art style. Some kind of a Walt Disney kind of character. Looks kind of nice. Submit more of your artwork for Overpaint episodes under this video or on Patreon page. I'll try to do some more episodes of Overpaint soon, so yeah, submit your work. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe, tell a friend, find Nemo, do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye! Okay, maybe I'll add some glow, and then I'll go to bed. Cool.